BHPN Presents.
Hey.
Hi.
AI Unplugged.
Hi, my name is Dr. Nik Whyte. I am the co-founder and managing director of the Black Healthcare Professionals Network, or the BHPN.
Hi, I'm Schamona Pounall, and I'm the Healthcare Enterprise Outreach Coordinator of BHPN.
So for me, Schamona, one of the important things about Black History Month is that this is the one time throughout the year where we get a chance to look back and acknowledge some of the amazing accomplishments that we've seen from Black heroes in our communities.
Absolutely. I agree, and I think Black History Month is not just about remembering what they've done, but celebrating what they've done. And I think historically, Black people have been set up behind or set back because of education. So we've been put to the back, not been offered education as much as our white counterparts, and that has shifted us where we are, so we're not ahead of anybody else. And I think with Black History Month, it's the time for us to educate everyone, to let them know Black innovators set us apart, brought us to where we are today. So I think we have to celebrate that, because education is really what pushes us forward.
Absolutely, absolutely, I agree with you. So in terms of, for Black History Month, can you tell me a little bit about some of the things that you think are important to recognize, especially in terms of the innovation, because that's been a theme for us for this month?
I think we have to recognize the experiences of those before us. I think when you look back on Black innovators, it's not really like their formal education that put them forth, but the creativity, the original thoughts, the ideas that they had from their lived experience. And I think it puts us in a very unique position as Black people, because we have experiences that are so different that pushes us to want to be better, want to create a path for the future generation. So I think that is something very important that we have to look at, because when you know your history, you know how you want to move forward. You know that your excellence doesn't need to be set back by the barriers that are before you, but instead to push you, to want you to overcome that. And history has shown us that in time, Black innovators, they didn't really care about those barriers or those challenges. They knew that they were brilliant, and they did brilliant work.
Great points, Schamona. And I think it's important to recognize that the way things were even 30 years ago are very different from today. Mm-hmm. You can imagine the barriers that faced by the Black innovators, in particular in the healthcare space. One situation is that Black people weren't actually allowed to attend medical schools in the United States until even the 50s, which is very sad. So overcoming those barriers definitely leads to a higher level of, I think, adversity and resilience that allows these people to continue despite all of the challenges they face.
I agree. So Dr. Whyte, what can you tell me about the role of innovation in shaping the future of Black professionals and businesses?
Well, I think innovation has always been at the forefront of the Black community's progress. At this time, at this day and age, we have an amazing opportunity to continue to actually innovate and have these ideas come to fruition. And there's a few key reasons why. One of them is with social media. So because we now have access to social media, it allows us to control our own narrative in the media for the first time. If you look back to the 90s, when I was growing up, the 2000s, Black people were not represented in the media in a positive light ever. And there was nothing we could really do about that. But nowadays we can actually produce our own media for relatively cheap and get our message out there. So I think that's important. If you have an innovative idea, you do need to pursue it. But social media is your friend, because it allows you to shape the conversation, and we can have a more equal playing ground when it comes to the narrative of how our community is interacting in business. I will say another key thing that is going to level the playing ground for us is AI. So artificial intelligence allows people to be able to do things that we couldn't do previously, in the sense that someone can now own and operate a business, a small business, using AI as the entire staff. So it allows you to scale much quicker. It allows you to offload administrative burden, and it allows you to have innovative, creative approaches as well. So I think it's an exciting time. We're at the forefront of what might be another kind of renaissance in the Black community, and I think a renaissance especially in the Black healthcare space. So it's an exciting time.
I agree, and just to add to that a bit, it's really about having access. Like you said, we never really had that. And now that we have access to our own phones, cameras, anything that can put us in front of the media, we can tell our stories. Nobody's telling our stories for us. So that's really what's important. Love what you said. Okay, so Dr. Whyte, I do have some questions for you. Let's see how much you know about your Black innovators. Okay, so first question. What was Dr. Charles Drew's major contribution to medical science?
Okay, good. So I do know Dr. Charles Drew. He was one of the deans of Howard University College of Medicine, which is where I went to medical school. And I know his story because he did go to medical school at McGill because he was not allowed to attend medical school in the United States because he was Black. Now, if you look at a picture of him, he's a very light-skinned person, but you have to remember in the United States, it doesn't matter if you're light-skinned, Black, you're Black. So in terms of his major contribution, I believe it was related to transfusions. I believe he helped perform or invented a technique to do the first blood transfusions in humans. I can't recall if that was done in African American patients or white patients, but my guess is it probably was done, the trials were probably done in African American patients. I don't know. So that's what I know about Charles Drew.
Yeah, can't comment on if it was on white or African Americans, but you're absolutely correct. He was known as the father of the blood bank because of his medical research in blood plasma preservation.
Okay.
Okay, so basically it allowed them to have a longer shelf life to help the soldiers
to store
in war.
blood.
Yes.
Okay, so it was more about developing a technique to be able to store the blood longer term in blood banks, which is absolutely crucial to any hospital system, because you have to have blood available and you can't just take blood from a patient and then put it in another patient. You need to store your blood. So that transformed the entire medical the medical sector, I would say.
Absolutely. All right, next question. What heart condition did Vivian Thomas help develop a surgical technique to treat despite having no formal medical degree?
Okay, so I know Vivian Thompson was basically a surgeon, and I don't think was allowed to attend medical school. So that's probably the reason why he was never given a medical degree. But my understanding is he's essentially doing the whole procedure, doing everything, and the white doctor, got credit. So I believe it was something to do with the tetralogy of Fallot, and I don't know, I'm just guessing. Tetralogy of Fallot is a condition where there's some issue with pediatric cardiovascular congenital problem that you can fix with a surgical intervention that leads to a normal life for the patient for the most part. Is that it or no?
So it was, you can tell me more when I give you the answer. It was a procedure to treat blue baby syndrome, cyanotic heart disease.
Yeah, so, okay. So that's actually pretty common, cyanotic heart disease, relatively common congenital deficiency or congenital cardiac abnormality, that if that patient has that, it's essentially, I think those patients would have died from my understanding. So I don't know if it was a surgical intervention, but I believe that's transposition of the great vessels, I'm guessing, but
You're the one to tell us.
Okay, we'll have to do some research. It was either transposition of the great vessels that he developed a technique to correct. It could have also been something called PDA, patent ductus arteriosus, or it could have been the first one I mentioned, tetralogy of Fallot. I don't know, you guys tell me. But I'm pretty close.
Yeah, it's actually, to add on to this, actually interesting to me that he was simply a surgical technician.
Yeah.
And like you said, weren't allowed to go to medical school. This is how intimidated they were by Black professionals. And I'm not sure if it's okay to say this, but imagine if we were being put in places that we could get this education. Yeah. Simply a surgical technician comes up with something as groundbreaking as this without a formal degree, right?
Well, one thing I will mention about surgical technicians and surgery in general is surgeons are technicians. Like, when they're in there doing a procedure, it's a technician, right? So you have surgical technicians, you have surgeons, you have all of these different people who can do this, but essentially you're doing the same thing. It's like you have a car, you have an engineer, he knows how to fix the car. You have a mechanic, he also knows how to fix the car. But one is going to also know how to, build the engine, right? Which is what a kind of a more of an MD is, or a physician, right? So anyways, good points.
All right, next question. What innovative device did Dr. Patricia Bath invent that transformed cataract surgery?
Okay, so this is one I actually don't know. Let me think. So it's something to do with cataract surgery?
Correct.
And it's a device?
Yes.
Well, unfortunately, I don't know anything about ophthalmology, to be honest with you. So I don't know any devices. So I don't know this answer.
So it's called the laser phaco. She invented this device that transformed cataract surgery, restoring vision to millions worldwide. And actually, she's the first Black woman to receive a medical patent.
Wow. Well, cataract surgery is one of the most lucrative industries in healthcare right now because, number one, it takes 30 seconds to do the procedure somehow. It used to take like an hour, 2 hours, 3, 4 hours. Now it takes 10 minutes. So you can do 20 a day, right?
Yeah.
So one of the most highest billing doctors in Ontario is ophthalmology.
Something to think about.
Because they're able to do these procedures so quickly now with the new technologies and lasers and all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just boom, 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 boom.
Thank you, Patricia.
Yeah, I think the ophthalmologists can thank her. Some of them are billing a lot. Let's just put it that way.
Okay, next question. Dr. Anderson Ruffin Abbott was the first Black-born doctor in which country?
Dr. Anderson. What's the last name?
Abbott. Ruffin Abbott.
Well, okay, so first Black-born, meaning the first person in the country to become a doctor is what you're saying. So it probably was not, obviously it's not the United States, it's not UK, maybe it's somewhere in the Caribbean. Jamaica? No, I don't know.
So close yet so far. It's Canada.
Canada?
Yes.
Really?
It's Canada.
Why did I not?
Yeah.
Oh, what year was that?
Not sure, but it was during the American Civil War that he served as a surgeon for the Union Army.
American Civil War.
So before that is when he became a doctor.
Okay.
All right, final question for you, Dr. Whyte. What field did Marie Van Britten Brown work in when she co-invented the first home security system?
Wow. I didn't even know she invented that. Okay, what field?
What was her occupation?
Her occupation was probably just being like a cleaner or a maid, I'm gonna guess.
No.
No?
I'm gonna give you one more try.
Okay, but it's definitely some sort of, labor-based job. So she was at a home, she was trying to do a home security system. Maybe she was working as the yard keeper or the property keeper, if you will. I don't know.
No, she was a nurse.
Oh.
Which takes us back to my point earlier that innovation has a lot to do with our lived experiences.
It does.
She was a nurse, but she didn't feel safe in the area she was living in. So she came up with an idea with her husband, if I'm not mistaken, to build a home security system. It had nothing to do with her occupation. She just didn't feel safe in her community as a Black woman.
I have to say that, personally and in general, I think when you innovate something and it has an actual application in your own life, those are the best types of inventions because people are going to use it right away, right? So I encourage healthcare, especially any healthcare professional watching this or any Black person watching this, to pursue in this year, in 2025, pursue your innovation. Put some money on the table, take a risk, take an investment, whatever you're gonna do, but put some time into something, make a project that involves innovation, and try to see if you can do something. And if you fail, you fail. If you succeed, you succeed, but you'll learn something in the process.
I love that.
Schamona, why do you think that these contributions are not well or widely known?
I mean, you answered the question earlier. These contributions are not widely known because there was no representation of Black people in the media. They didn't show our contributions. They didn't recognize our contributions. You can go back to before Black people were accepted into medical school. They were never even accepted into the AMA. Think back to the first doctor that we spoke about. Dr. Charles Drew, when he invented that blood preservation system, he was not recognized for it because the AMA at the time, although he was a well-known surgeon, went to medical school, was a professor, the AMA still was not accepting Black students in that organization. And the AMA is big on recognition. That's where you go for, medical education, ethics, everything, the standard of what medicine is supposed to be. And if they don't want to recognize Black people, then whatever we come up with was never, brought to light. So it's not widely known because we were never told about it. Nobody was interested in telling about what Black people done. Think about the fact that actually, when he invented this, the Red Cross called him to create mobile blood banking, right? So he actually created these mobile banks with the Red Cross. However, Black people could not donate blood. The irony is, we're creating these spaces for white people or other races to thrive, but we're not welcomed into the spaces that we created. So of course it's not widely known to us. Now, this is our time for us to put that information out there to educate the community, because back in the day, it was never being told. These stories were never being told.
I personally consider myself to be fairly well versed in Black history because I identify as Black, and growing up it was important to understand and know this information. But what I'm saying is, if I don't know something, it's unlikely that the average Canadian is going to know it in terms of information about Black people. So I think we need to really continue to push during Black History Month. We need to remember that this is something that we need to do, without any hesitation, without any shame, without any sense of, we need to talk about what happened.
Yep.
We need to talk about the abuse, the history, the slavery, the neglect, all the things that happened to us in this country. Like, people don't seem to realize that, essentially when this country started, Black people were considered essentially slaves. They were not allowed to vote. They were not allowed to own properties. They were not allowed to do anything. They were terrorized constantly by people burning down their communities in Nova Scotia. I mean, people need to read about the history, right? We also know about the history of Indigenous peoples in this country. There's been a lot of terrorism that Black people and Indigenous peoples have experienced in Canada. And that is what made it challenging for us to be able to even keep up pace. I mean, if you're not allowed to go to medical school, what are you supposed to do? Right? So if it's 1950 and no one's allowed to go to medical school, I mean, I don't know what I would do. I'd probably be a janitor. Literally, I would be a janitor. That's what would be my job. So I'm glad it's improved, but people need to understand it's not resolved.
Right.
Right? Like, the racism is ongoing. It's in a different form. Exactly. People don't even know they're racist. Right? And one thought experiment I say is, imagine you're walking down an alley at nighttime and there's a person who comes towards you. Scenario A is that person is a white person with a hood. Scenario B is it's a Black person with a hood. Which one are you more worried about? And the answer is the Black person, and that's true for even me. So if it's true for me, it's true for every Canadian person, because the media set us up to look like criminals.
Right.
Right? When you watch Cops, go back to watch an episode of Cops in the 1990s and see what it looks like. It doesn't look good. So now that we can control our media, now that we have some power, now that we're starting to own businesses, own buildings, have positions in government, we can finally start to actually have a level playing field.
I agree. And back to your point about it's not over. It has not been resolved. They've just changed the way that
It
they
happens.
bring about racism.
And I think they means just everyone, right? This is
Everyone.
not coming from one particular group. This is true of all Canadian culture and society.
Yeah.
This is ingrained in our society. It's not something you can prevent, but you have to recognize that it exists.
Exactly. So Dr. Whyte, tell me, how do you think these Black innovators have inspired innovation today, and what lessons can we learn from these innovations that they have created?
If you look and use these people as inspiration, it's very powerful. I mean, the settings, the conditions, the environment in which they were living was not set up for success. So imagine being there and being able to still do these things. It just proves that you can do anything you really put your mind to. And there are going to be barriers, but you can overcome them. And when you overcome tough barriers, you get something out of that. You get a new technique, a new tool, a new piece of information, something that you can carry on with you in the future. So those are very important. Resilience is actually one of the most important character traits for leaders and for heroes. So these people had resilience, absolutely. In terms of how does that lead to innovation today, like I said, just looking at your environment and looking at the problems that exist and actually trying to solve them. Like actually try to see if you can come up with a scenario where you solve the problem and then think about what it is that's going to help you get there. And that could be the piece, that could be the tool, that could be, you know, whatever it might be, but that could help facilitate growth, innovation, invention, etc.
Yeah, we can basically say it's almost thinking outside the box. It is thinking outside the box.
Right.
As we have just heard about the remarkable work of Black innovators of our history, it's a reminder that potential exists when we push and break down these barriers. So as we reflect this Black History Month on their resilience and original thoughts, let's think on this question. How can we move forward with Black professionals to ensure that we keep innovating ideas? So Dr. Whyte, how do you think as a physician that AI can advance healthcare or add to healthcare?
It's a great question. I will tell you about my own personal story. So a year ago, I had never even thought about AI as being something that could be used in healthcare or for me in any way. About 3 to 4 months ago, I started testing and piloting some AI tools that I was seeing. And essentially, the most useful one that I found is something called an AI scribe. With an AI scribe, what I was able to do, what I'm doing currently in my practice is during the patient encounter or the interview, I'm able to just tell the patient, consent with them to using this tool, which essentially just records the conversation and creates a transcript. That happens in real time when I'm talking to the patient. The AI is able to take that information and transcribe it into a clinical note that meets all the criteria for the college, for the CPSO. In other words, it is able to, without me having to do any input, generate its own note that can be uploaded into the file, of course reviewed by me before it's submitted, but I'd say it's about 80 to 90% of the time I'm happy with what it sends me. And so that takes away my admin work. And as a physician, I can tell you that for every hour of patient time, there's another hour of admin work attached to that. Documentation, follow-up, results, that time is not paid for, okay? So if I can remove that burden, then I can focus on billable hours, which is me seeing patients, right? I can see more patients, I can see, in my opinion, about 20% more patients per day with the AI tool. And I hate doing notes, I just hate documentation, right? I just want it to be done, and it's finally available to me. And I will say that, yeah, I used to type probably 30,000 words a day 2 years ago when I was seeing patients. Now I don't type, it's all done. So it's really nice.
That's amazing.
With AI diagnostics, that's kind of a newer thing that hasn't really hit yet, but will be hitting this year. And I personally am developing some tools, a diagnostic tool. And this is actually something that I saw there was a need for when I was working in northern rural communities, because when I was in those healthcare settings, I was working in the hospital as the only doctor sometimes, which meant that I had to be able to take the information, review it, and make a decision very quickly. So reviewing diagnostic tests like electrocardiograms, chest x-rays, blood work, reviewing the chart, because sometimes getting the information is extremely hard. So using AI to go out and scour the medical records throughout the province so I can get access to the charts I need. Because I can tell you, I spend a lot of time just finding the information, right? Because in Ontario, everything is siloed. You can't find the information on your patients anywhere. Like you have to call, it's impossible to get your patient information. So if we could have an AI that can either request this information or obtain it for me before I even see the patient, that would be helpful.
Yeah.
If it had an AI that could help me with the diagnosis when I'm looking at an electrocardiogram, that would be helpful because it helps confirm my diagnosis. It's not telling me, I already know what the diagnosis is. But if I have something that verifies that at 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm in the emergency department and I don't have to call, a specialist at home and wake him up to ask him about an ECG, yeah, I would take that. So that's what I'm trying to develop. That's what our team is developing at the Black Healthcare Professional Network. We're actually a technology company as well. So we are developing these new technologies this year, in fact.
Yeah, sounds good. I love that.
So I think also when it comes to patient care solutions, there's many ways AI can help in terms of helping patients understand their own health, so patient education. I have, one of the most common things is we'll order tests for patients and patients will get access to these results before we have a chance to actually speak, before I have, as a doctor, have a chance to review the results with the patient. And I've had patients who are like panicking at, in the middle of the night because they're seeing some results, Googling stuff. If we had some sort of tool that could allow patients to, I guess, have some sort of explanation about what is they're seeing or give them some preliminary support before they have a chance to follow up with their doctor. That's one idea. I mean, there's so many other ways you can integrate AI, right? Even if you're using a chat-based AI tool that is focused on healthcare and can give real healthcare advice to patients that they can understand. I mean, that's another application. They're endless. There's so many. In terms of bias in AI, that's an important thing for people to understand. Inherently, AI is bias. Inherently. There's no way to eliminate bias in AI, but we can mitigate it or minimize it through diverse inputs.
Yes.
Meaning if your data set is diverse, that will help the AI mitigate bias, but you can't prevent bias because it's created by a human at some stage, right? And so humans are inherently biased, and so some of that can get transferred into AI and you don't even notice it until it's too late.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important to have a variety of AI models. Like this needs to be not just one monopoly, it has to be widespread use of AI and adoption of AI and implementation of AI and familiarity with AI. So everyone needs to educate themselves about AI and begin to use it. Like ChatGPT-4, DeepSeek, all of these different applications, you can use them in your everyday life and they can help you.
I agree.
But AI bias is a concern and AI ethics is a concern, and these are areas we need to develop right now. We need to have oversight of AI or else it could be used as a weapon.
That is true. As for AI for medical administration, it's the same thing. It's as simple as wanting to reduce the administrative task. So you said earlier, as a physician, you're typing 30,000 words a day, unnecessary words a day. That means I'm probably typing 90,000 words a day, which who wants to do that? And yes, it is the name of the game, medical admin. We're meant to do administrative tasks. But what people don't seem to understand, patient care doesn't begin the moment a patient sees you as the physician. Patient care begins the moment a patient checks in with the front staff. Patient care is holistic. It's not just about the doctor giving them a diagnosis, giving them a treatment. It's also about how patients are treated from the moment they step into a facility. So when they come to see the doctor and they are faced with the front office staff, we have to be pleasant. The empathy has to be there. While AI can't replace us, it can enhance our work because it removes that burden of having to send an email, even answering basic calls. Like if an AI could pick up a voicemail and understand the voicemail, then send a text or an email responding to that voice message, it allows us to focus on the patients in front of us. So now we're giving them our undivided attention. So it's as simple as that. Patient care becomes the focus, and that's what we need.
Absolutely, I completely agree with every point. One of the things that AI cannot deliver, or we at least at this point cannot deliver, is culturally competent care, and especially patient safety. So, and what I mean by that is now we recognize that in healthcare spaces, we need to create an environment that is safe for the patients in terms of their cultural concerns, right? They need to feel safe and represented and accepted and all of these things. And so that's where the administrative staff at a clinic or hospital come into play. And that's what you want to do as an admin. You don't want to be sitting there sending emails all day, right? So we can offload that, and there are technologies and there are applications that exist right now
already.
that we actually use, right? So for sure, there's a huge application for administrative medical administration for all healthcare professionals, but particularly for members in the Black Healthcare Professional Network, BHPN. We have a number of AI tools that are available. And I won't name specific products, but I'll tell you about applications. So one application I discussed earlier, which is a medical scribe. So medical scribe can help you with your documentation, your note-taking, all of those things. It's really important, and that's an amazing way to do that. You're gonna see that being adopted much more in Ontario this year. There's also AI administrative tools that can help with things like reviewing and removing junk mail from your faxes. So essentially filtering your faxes, filtering your emails, responding to your emails, booking patients, all of those tasks can be done by an AI. In addition to, you know, the AI learns based on what you do, and it just learns what you want to do. So you have to train your AI for like a month or two before it knows how to actually perform. But you can train these AIs to do the work you need it to do. And then, of course, if you look at open AI sources or source AI where you can get access to, I guess, we'll call it chat-based AI. Chat-based AI tools are useful all the time. And I don't use them for medical information, but if it could draw from a database that is, you know, full of the medical literature and that is absolutely, you know, evidence-based and provide me with that information, it would assist me in my ability to provide patient care, and it would help me spend more time with patients. So and then of course there's diagnostic tools that can be used as well. So there's a number of applications, they're limitless. Another application is to help, you know, using VR, which is not really AI, but using VR to help patients who have, you know, depression. You can bring someone to a beach with a VR headset and let them relax for an hour or two. So then it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, and just to add to that, from my perspective as a medical secretary, there are AI tools that actually help with document triaging. Or say for instance, you are a specialist and you want to refer your patient to another specialist based on what's happening with your patient. There are a lot of forms that we have to fill out just for that. And it takes up the day, not only for the doctor, but for the medical admin task. If AI can fill that out, especially because half that form is basically demographics, patient name, date of birth, address, filling that out alone does half the work. So there already existing tools for that. So that's definitely another one that helps.
For, you know, Black business owners who want to take advantage of AI, I think you need to use, one of the most useful applications is to use AI to help create documents. So for example, business plans, you know, reports, summaries, proposals. So you can input a very basic kind of query to the AI and tell the AI what to do. So explain to it that you'd like it to produce, you know, a business plan with a balance sheet for the next 2 years showing financials. You don't have to know how to prompt the AI in a way that it's going to do the stuff you want it to do. So
Right.
it can do anything, but if you don't know how to prompt it properly, you're not going to get the results you're looking for. So you have to start using it in your everyday life so you figure out how it works and how to best, I guess, optimize it. And you should pay for these things too. I mean, it's worth the investment, right? ChatGPT 4, for example, or chat AIs are like a couple $100 a month.
Yeah.
I mean, why not, right? Take the risk. In terms of barriers that I think exist in terms of AI adoption, especially in marginalized communities. So one is there's a general, I think, misunderstanding of what AI is and how AI tools work. Especially in the healthcare space, the AI is not making decisions. This is not an AGI. This is just a tool, right? So it's still in the control of the person, the provider. In marginalized communities, barriers could be lack of trust, mistrust in technology or in this new technology, maybe lack of awareness or lack of experience. So these things are typical when it comes to barriers for marginalized communities. It's often they're falling behind in terms of adopting the new technologies and maybe not having access.
Yes.
It's expensive, it's not really free.
Yeah.
So that can be a barrier as well.
Yeah, I hate to be a broken record, but the lack of education.
Yeah.
If you don't know something,
You don't know what you
tend
don't know.
to, exactly, and you
don't know
tend
what
to
you
have a
don't know
fear
you don't
for
know.
it.
Yeah.
So that is it.
I do think that now is an important time for Black entrepreneurs and professionals to embrace AI. We don't want to fall behind here. This is something that's going to be very quick. Every day, every week, you're going to see a new update on AI, and if you're not well versed, you're going to fall behind because it's going to be humans who use AI versus humans who do not use AI. Humans who do not use AI are going to be at a disadvantage.
Yep, I agree. And it's just important. The first step to take, open a book, go to Google, type in what is artificial intelligence, get well versed on the basics, the foundation of what that is. And then you can take the next step, innovate in those different ideas that you want to put you in the space. Like you said, in the future, and I don't mean the distant future, I mean the near future, it's going to be who knows about AI versus who doesn't know about AI. We saw last year the rollout with the Ontario government with AI Scribe. So this is something that not just doctors are pushing or tech experts are pushing. The government wants us to go in that direction.
Absolutely, the government wants us to use AI. There's going to be a huge effort to adopt AI widespread, and I think it's an important thing for this year.
Yeah, I agree. So listeners, once again, I encourage you to introduce AI-powered solutions into your field, whether it's healthcare, business, finance, whatever it is that you see yourself in, ensure you are employing these AI tools.
BHPN's role in helping to advance the adoption of AI in our community is that we provide events. We're going to be having an event in May that's focused on AI in healthcare and technology in healthcare. We also have our business advisory services, which can give you specific action plans so that you can adopt AI into your business. And then of course, our networking opportunities, we always find that we meet the most amazing people at our events. And sometimes you don't know where they're going to come from, but being at that event will really help you, and being in the network will help you. So it's free to join the network at bhpn.ca. Of course, if you want to take advantage, we also have our premium member package. So check those things out. I think it's important that we remember how much we benefit from innovators. If you look at the history of the last 100 years, you're going to see some key developments that led to changes in our entire society. One of them, the internet. I am telling you that AI is going to be another thing. It's going to skyrocket, and we're going to see development and innovation and new technologies over the next 2 to 3 years. So it is an exciting time, and you should be courageous in pursuing the ideas that you come up with.
And as we come to a close of today's discussion, we want to remind Black professionals of their crucial role in shaping AI in the future. So join us by visiting our website and join us in May for our Black Health Heroes Gala with the theme Tech in Health, as we explore the important role of technology in healthcare with a focus on artificial intelligence.
So thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of BHPN Presents.
Hey,
Hi,
AI Unplugged.